This is Bill Stewart, and in this video I'm going to show you how to request and install a Windows Domain Certificate from a Windows Certification Authority into Apache Tomcat web browser. And we will accomplish this by using the open source Keystore Explorer tool. So in order to get that to work, the first thing we want to do is we want to go to our, since I'm using Adopt OpenJDK JRE, I'm going to go to my downloads and I'm going to add the Javasoft registry keys. So I'm just going to go through here and do change and make sure that the Javasoft registry keys are there so that the Keystore Explorer tool will be able to find the Java installation. So just go next and then change. Okay, so that will add the necessary registry entries for Keystore Explorer. Next, we're going to go to the Keystore Explorer homepage and download the installer. Just click on the download link and I have it downloaded here. So we just want to double click to install Keystore Explorer application. Yes to confirm administrator. Next. I'm going to install for all users of the computer. I'm not going to do any file associations, and the default install directory is fine, so I'm going to go ahead and do an install. And I do want a desktop shortcut. Okay. As you can see on the desktop here, I have the Keystore Explorer application. I'm going to go ahead and open that. The last preparatory step I want to do here is create a search directory under my Tomcat install directory. So I'm going to go to C, Program Files, and mine happens to be installed in Apache Tomcat. So I'm going to go into that folder and we'll create a new folder there. And I will need to confirm administrator and call it certs, C-E-R-T-S. And I also want to grant my current logon user permission to write files and so forth into that directory. So I'm going to right click it, do properties, and go to the security tab and edit and add. My current logon user is just called admin, so I'm going to do find that account and select it and grant full control access. Okay. And OK and OK. All right, so now we've got the 3 preparatory steps ready. Next, we just want to open the Keystore Explorer application, which I did already. And I'm going to close the tips here. And we're going to do File and then New to create a Keystore file. It's going to be a PKCS number 12 Keystore, which is the default. Next, we're going to create a key pair within the Keystore. RSA 2048 is correct. Okay, version 3, SHA-256 with RSA. I'm going to set a sample validity period of 10 years. That would only apply if you're using it as a self-signed certificate. So you can see this year's 2021, you'll see 2031 as the validity end on this self-signed cert if you were to use that. I'm going to click the name button and enter in the Fqdn of the server. That's the Fqdn of this current server that the server that I want to the certificate to apply to, rather. And I'm going to fill in values appropriate for the CA that I'm using. Okay. And I also need to add some certificate extensions to make this a valid web server certificate. So I'm going to click that button. And I'm going to click the green plus sign here. And the first one is going to be extended key usage in OK. And I'm going to select TLS Web Server Authentication. The next extension is key usage rather than extended key usage. Click OK, and this is for digital signature and key encipherment. Okay. The next extension is the subject alternative name. And I'm going to add a DNS name of the Fqdn of the server. Okay. And I'm also going to add, because this is inside a Windows domain, I just want to be able to specify just the server name without typing the full Fqdn when I go to that server. So I'm just going to put the server name in there. So you see both of those are alternative names on the certificate. And lastly, I want to use the subject key identifier extension and generate a key 160-bit hash, and OK. So I've got the 4 certificate extensions. Just take a look and make sure that those are typed correctly. Those look good. Extended key usage is TLS web server. Key usage is digital signature key encipherment. And subject key identifier is generated. Okay. Click this name button just to make sure that that looks good as well. Okay. Now at this point, Keystore Explorer app is going to generate the key pair, and we're going to give it an alias. That this is just a tag name for the key pair inside the Keystore file. The default is fine. This is the password for the key pair. Make sure that's the same. Okay, the key pair has been generated. So now we want to save that file as a PFX file. So we're just going to do save. And I'm going to use the same password for the Keystore as I used for the key pair. Okay. And it wants to know where we're going to store it in that new directory that we created in the Tomcat application folder. Okay. .pfx. Okay. So now we have saved the Keystore file into the certs directory. So the next step is we actually need to generate a CSR, or certificate signing request, to send to the domain CA. Okay. So what we're going to do there is we're going to do a right click on the key pair and do a generate CSR. PKCS number 10, SHA-256 with RSA. The distinguished name should already be correct. Make sure that the extensions box is checked. And I'm going to title this file just the server name.csr. Okay. Okay, so we've generated the CSR file. Next is we want to go to the domain CA, which is using our browser, https://server name/certsrv. This is the server name in my domain. So in the sample domain, I'm just going to click that link to go to that certificate server page. Okay, so the next step that we want to do there is we want to go to request a certificate and an advanced certificate request. Now these steps might be slightly different depending on your domain. Okay, so for the certificate request, it wants the base 64 encoded version of the CSR. So to get that one, we can use the Keystore Explorer examine file command and just pull up the CSR file. And you will see in there, there's the requested subject name for the cert. And if you click the extensions, you'll see the extensions that we added when we created the key pair, right? So what it wants, what the web server wants, is the PEM format of the certificate. So we want to click the PEM button there and hit copy. So we can copy that certificate request in PEM format to the clipboard. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and do a right click and paste that here. You want to make sure when you do that, you have the begin certificate request lines and end certificate request lines. Okay. In this example, we're creating a certificate for a web server, so I'm going to choose that option. And again, this may be different depending on your domain and how their CA is set up. Okay, and finally, we're going to click Submit. Okay, so now at this point, the domain CA has actually issued us a certificate. We just need to download it and use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it in base64 format, and we're going to click the Download Certificate Chain option. Okay. So that's going to download a file called certnew.p7b, and it's going to be in my download folder. I'm actually going to rename this file to servername.response-response.cer. Okay, I don't care about that warning. Okay, and I'm actually going to copy this file into the Tomcat certs folder. So I'm going to go under Program Files, Apache Tomcat certs, and paste in that file. Okay, so this is the file that we downloaded from the CA. Okay, and we can look at it using the examine file in Keystore Explorer. There's the response file, and you can see there's the CA and the certificate. Okay, with it's got a 2-year. It issued a 2-year certificate. Okay, and you can also see the extensions. Some of the extensions are added by the CA, and the other ones are the ones that we requested. For example, subject alternative name is in the certificate. Okay. So at this point, what we're ready to do is actually import the CA response back into the Keystore to give us a valid certificate. So we're going to do a right click on the key pair and do import CA reply from file, and choose the reply or response file and import. Okay, now you will see here that the asterisk has appeared on the file. The Keystore file has changed. If we double click it to view the content of the key pair, you will see now that the key pair has the full certificate, and you can see that it's a 2-year cert, and you can also see the extensions, for example. Okay, so now we have a valid certificate that's issued from the CA in our Keystore, and we can save this PFX file. Okay, so now we're ready to actually export the files that will be used by Tomcat in the configuration. So first we want to export the certificate chain. Okay, so we're going to do a right click of the key pair and export certificate chain. We want entire chain in this case, x.509 in PEM format, and I'm just going to call this servername.cer. Okay, export chain is successful. We also need to export the private key, so I'm going to again right click the key pair and export private key, export private key. And in this configuration, we're going to be using the OpenSSL format, so I'm going to choose that option. And I do not want to encrypt, and I do want PEM format. So I'm going to just name that servername.key. Okay, and export. And now we have those files in our certs folder. I'm actually going to do a little work here to restrict the permissions of the private key file so that users don't have access to it. They won't need it. So I'm going to go to Details, or excuse me, Security, and Advanced. I'm going to disable inheritance for that file and convert inherited into explicit permissions. And I'm going to remove the users and application packages from the from the file's access control list. Okay. Okay, so now we've got the certificate and the key file. So now we need to install them into the Tomcat configuration. So in order to do that, we're actually going to use Windows PowerShell. We're going to run as administrator. And I'm going to change to the Tomcat Conf directory in this example. So I'm going to click in here and copy that path. Okay. And set dash location. And in quotes, I'm going to paste that path in there. And the file that we want to change is server.xml, so I'm going to make a backup copy of that file. And then I want to open server.xml in Notepad. Okay, and what we want to search for is actually the string connector port equals 8443, and we want to find the one for APR native in this configuration. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to do a Control F, and paste that in there. Connector port 8443, and just scroll this down a little bit. This is actually the one here, APR native. HTTP2 SSL TLS APR native. This is what we want. You can see from the tags here and here that it's currently commented out. So I'm going to highlight this here, select that text, and scroll down, and let's paste that in there, right? Just like that. And I'm actually going to use the standard port 443 for this server. And we just need to make a few changes here. Instead of the certificate files being in conf, we've got them in certs. So I'm going to change that. And the key file is servername.key. And the certificate file is certs wiki.cer, filename.cer. And we actually do not use certificate chain file, so I'm going to highlight that line and delete it. Okay, so now we can save the server.xml file, and now we can just use our Windows standard services applet to restart the Tomcat service. So I'm going to go to the services and just restart that service. Okay, here's Tomcat, and I'm just going to do a restart here with the restart button. And that causes the Tomcat server to reload the server.xml file. Okay, so now Tomcat is up and running. We can take a look at the log file and see if the Tomcat server has finished initializing. You can get content and the Catalina log file -wait. Okay, it looks like the server did start up, so it's ready to go. So now all that's left is to actually open that page in a browser and see if it works correctly or not. So HTTPS, and I'm going to use the subject alternative name we set in the certificate. So just like that, server name. And if we don't get any errors, we have a successful certificate installation. And we see the regular lock sign, which is good. So then we can click the site information and certificate. Oops, let's go back to our browser here. Yep. And you can see it was issued to our server and issued by the CA and the validity period of the certificate. So the certificate is valid. So I hope that this tutorial was helpful to help you install domain certificate in Tomcat.